Transition Tuesday. I'm Jane. This is Joe. Talking about season's greetings. Now I know it's November when we're recording this, and I love Thanksgiving. It's like my favorite holiday of all. And I am not skipping Thanksgiving by calling this episode Season's Greetings, but we are going to talk about interacting with a person with a disability, particularly a nonverbal one, and what you can do if you are, especially if you're not used to being around people with disabilities. First thing, be patient and relax. Meeting someone new is hard, whether they have a disability or not. So just be patient, relax, take a deep breath. Start with hello. Just start with hello. We have a tool. We use this little poster when we go out in the community. It has pictures of Joe doing different things, interesting pictures of things like the Space Needle in Seattle, Joe getting on a school bus, Joe on a hiking trail, Joe playing basketball, Joe riding a horse. And then there's a little information, about Joe having cerebral palsy and some of the things he enjoys. And then it says, help me practice my people skills, come over and say hello. So it's an invitation, and it's kind of an icebreaker for Joe. So you can kind of read the poster and learn about Joe as you're saying hello to him. Because, obviously it's hard for Joe to tell you about himself, so the poster does that for him. Find common ground. What is the person wearing? You do this unconsciously when you meet someone who does speak. And maybe he's wearing a band shirt and you're like, oh, I love the Grateful Dead too. Or maybe he's wearing a lot of one color and you go, oh, you must really like red. Red's my favorite color too. Common ground. Or maybe it's the place you are. If you're at an event, obviously you're all there for that reason. Don't pet the person or the support animal. So say hello. You may or may not shake hands. I mean, you may take the lead of the person, but right now in this COVID world, many of us have kind of skipped the handshake part. But don't pat people on the head if they're in a wheelchair. I mean, you just wouldn't do that if the person wasn't in a wheelchair. And don't pet the support animal because those animals are trained, they're working. They are not like pets, literally. You should not pet the animal without first asking the person. Treat adults as adults. Joe's 20. Treat him like you would treat any other 20-year-old young man. It's okay to use common expressions like, see what I mean? It's okay to say that. I mean, just speak normally. Just use the language that you typically would use except for the R word. If you typically use the R word, stop it. It's not a nice word. Just saying. It's my soapbox. So introduce yourself to the person. So if I am standing with Joe and you're seeing our poster, speak to Joe. And I mean, you could speak to me too, but make sure that you say hello to Joe too. If a person is standing next to a person with a disability, they may not be a caregiver. Don't take it for granted that every person with a disability has to have an entourage with them to go out. Lots of people with disabilities are verbal, and the nonverbal ones, some of them get around just fine without a caregiver. So don't assume that whoever is with them is the person caring for that person, and don't assume that they're nonverbal, and don't assume that they don't understand what's going on. Joe always understands what's going on around him and doesn't need me to interpret things for him, but he is noticing how you respond to him. And he makes a decision about whether or not to like you based on how you approach him. Like most of us do. Nobody wants to be ignored. Be aware of things like if they explain to you they're blind or deaf, then, try to make sure that you are including that person in a way that they can be included. So if they are deaf or hearing impaired, then you want to make sure to speak slowly. If they ask them, do you read lips? And if they nod their head, then make sure you speak clearly. If you don't use sign language, usually the person who's deaf is pretty practiced at being out in the community, and they've created strategies to navigate social situations. That's what you have to remember is we've had 20 years of practice navigating social situations. So we kind of know what to do, and we're going to take the lead. So like a blind person will say, can you tell me where the restroom is? And then you would explain, okay, there's a long hallway directly in front of you. The bathroom is the second door on the left. That's kind of how you would explain it for a seeing person. If the person uses a wheelchair, or if you invite someone over to your house and they're using crutches because they had an injury, you're going to make accommodations for them in your house. You're going to seat them at the end of the table. You're going to make sure everybody clears a path so they can get through. This is just social etiquette stuff that you would do anyway. It's no different. And that's really what I want you to know. It's no different. It's just maybe you have to be a little more mindful. So you say hello. You dig up the courage to say hello. Don't forget to say goodbye. Don't interrupt a conversation if somebody's at a dinner party and you could see they're engaged. But when you get a chance, like you say goodbye to the host at a party, and if you've really struck up a conversation with this person or are getting ready to leave to talk to someone else, say, oh, bye, Joe, it was really nice meeting you. Just a respect thing. Practicing social graces is required for all of us. We weren't born with social skills. We have to practice them. So use the opportunity. If you meet someone with a disability, it's not like they're a social experiment, but practice these skills. If you really want to get to know them, sometimes it's not convenient, and sometimes the situation doesn't warrant it. But if it does, take the time. You'll be surprised at what you learn about people. It's worth it. So that's what I wanted to say. Season's greetings. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat part or in the comment section. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Transition Tuesdays with Jane and Joe. Here are two quick little resources on disability etiquette. And one is the National Council on Aging, ncoa.org, or the ARC. All lowercase.org. Those are two great resources for learning about disability etiquette, and they have lots of information. So we just gave you the quick version. So see you next time.